Good afternoon. The June 1st, 2016 meeting of the Thousand Oaks Council on Aging is now being called to order. I'd like to open this meeting in appreciation for the service rendered by Commissioner Donna O'Connor, who's leaving us today, leaving the council. This will be her last meeting and so forth, so we're grateful for her able service. And now if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now let's, would you please call the roll, Francine?
Sure. Please say here are present when I call your name. Commissioner Allen.
Present.
Chair Fotheringham.
Here.
Commissioner Gitt.
Present.
Commissioner Gorbach.
Here.
Commissioner Hagee.
Here.
Vice Chair Healy.
Here.
Commissioner Norkin.
Here.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Here.
And Commissioner Shentes.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, now is the time in our program for public comments. Does anyone here wish to make a public comment? I see none. So we'll move on to the liaison reports, and I'd like to turn the floor over to Vice Chair Healy.
Okay, the first liaison report will be given by Chair Fotheringham, so convenient. This is on the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging.
Thank you. The VCAAA has gotten involved in some programs that are new and some that are not quite so new that I think may be of interest to you. One of which is a program called Encore, and the VCAAA is doing this in partnership with the Ventura Adult and Continuing Education program. And Encore is a program designed for seniors who have decided after retirement that retirement isn't all that it's cracked up to be and want to go back to work, but may feel that they lack skills and so forth, particularly technical skills that are needed in today's marketplace. And so it's to help build schools and self-confidence in your ability, build skills and self-confidence in your ability to use those skills so you can apply for work. As many as we find that we're living longer and are healthier longer and so forth, that 30 years of retirement can be a little boring for some people, so that this is an opportunity to get back to work. The other is a concept that came to my attention just recently, and it's one that's being defined by the Alzheimer's Association, and it's called dementia-friendly. And Ventura County seeks to be a dementia-friendly county, and will encourage the various cities within the county and so forth to become dementia-friendly communities. And what this involves is, one, a lot of education among the rest of us. Alzheimer's and dementia are becoming increasingly common among people, and even with fairly mild dementia can result in people who are disoriented, have a little difficulty sort of coping with sort of what we see as sort of simple things like ordering a restaurant and so forth. So it's to help people develop an appreciation of where they can help these people, how you recognize them, being patient with them and so forth. And it also helps businesses sort of display things in a way that are not confusing, so that people who have trouble with being sort of confused with things that are complex and so forth can cope a little bit better. The third item, the one that I think you may have heard of, but in case you haven't and so forth, I wanted to make sure, was called HomeShare. HomeShare in Ventura County started in the city of Ventura and now has become a county program. And what it is an attempt to get people who are now living alone, who either have a house that's too large for them and they either can't quite take care of it, or they're lonely in it, and people who can't afford to stay in the home that they're in and need to go out and rent someplace. And so it brings people together, people with a home who have a room to rent, and people who would like to rent a room. And the rental can be either sort of money, or it can be sort of an exchange of services, or it can be just social, depending upon the people involved. and the county is involved in the program and so forth, screens these people pretty extensively and so forth, both the renters and the rentees, as part of this program to try to make sure that they're compatible when they bring them together to meet each other and so forth. So if you find yourself in that position and so forth, where you either have a house that's too large for you and find yourself craving company or craving help with the rent, or you find yourself in need of a place to live and you really can't afford the rental rates of apartments and so forth and would like to find a better deal with somebody, this might be a good program for you. All of these programs you can find out more about through the Ventura County Area Agency on Aging as a website through the Ventura County government site. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair Fotheringham. Our next report will be from the director of our local excellent volunteer program that everybody should know about and take advantage of, the opportunities they present. It is the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program, better known as CSVP. Take it away, Mr. Tanaka.
Thank you, Chair Healy. Again, I'm Rick Tanaka, the director of the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program, and I wanted to share a couple things with you. One of them being a recap of a special event that we had back on May 14th. This was called the Theater Fest. We had about 80 people in attendance, so thank you all for getting your tickets and coming out and having a good time. There was a wine reception before the performance. The performance took place at Conejo Players Theater, was done by them to help fundraise for Conejo Senior Volunteer Program. And their performance of Amadeus was absolutely fantastic. Overall, it was a great show, and thank you all for coming out and supporting that. We will be doing an event like that again next year, so just keep that in mind. Come around mid-May, or early May, keep an eye out for tickets for Theater Fest. Don't know what performance it will be just yet, though, but it will certainly be great. I also want to take a moment just to remind everyone that the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program has a fantastic resource directory that's available to pick up at the Global Adult Community Center. This was developed with the Wellness Fest event that took place back in January, and the directory itself is a fantastic resource for all the community services that are available to help you navigate what resources are available for your need out there. So please be sure to come by and pick one up. I also just want to remind everyone that Conejo Senior Volunteer Program specializes in finding volunteer opportunities for you, and there are new volunteer opportunities available on a regular basis. Some of what we have, just a small sample, are some of the groups that meet at the Global Adult Community Center on a regular basis to take donated material to sew, crochet, or knit items that are then in turn donated out to local organizations to help with the needy in the community and outside of the community as well. For more information on these groups, feel free to contact our office, 805-381-2742. The groups are known as the CSVP Crafters, the Nifty Ladies, the Busy Bees. All of these different groups have a different type of focus, but they're all some great groups to get involved with. Also, we partner with outside agencies to provide volunteer opportunities as well. One example is with Shelter Hope Pet Shop, where they have some volunteer needs that many people aren't aware of but would love to participate in. They have a need for volunteers just to go into the shop and spend some time with the dogs that are up for adoption. It really goes a long way in helping those dogs stay happy and healthy while they seek out a new home. For more information on these and other opportunities, please get in touch. Stop by our office to say hi or give us a call, 805-381-2742. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. I can't say enough for the CSVP program. When I first retired, as many people do, I thought, what will I do with my time? And I started with the Ombudsman program and then have progressed into other things, but it is the best thing. So if you're at home and you're thinking, wow, what can I do to give something back and get a lot myself? Talk to Rick. There are truly so many good spots available. So we also have our next report will be from the Global Adult Community Center, where Rick's office is. And Rick, I wonder if you could speak today on behalf of Patty Ham on what's going on at Global.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I would be happy to.
You're welcome.
So over at the Goebel Center, there's always a lot taking place. I want to tell you about a few of those things. Patty Ham, the supervisor over there, does a fantastic job of putting together some great special events that bring a lot of people together for a great time. One of the things that is coming up will be the kickoff of the summer with the summer barbecue on Friday, June 17th at 5 p.m. It includes food, live entertainment, and dancing. Not by me, I'm sorry to say, but by someone else. Tickets are available at the front desk at the Goebel Center. Also coming up, they have water exercise classes, which begin on the week of June 20th. Classes are free to seniors 50 and older and are held from 12 to 1 on Mondays and Wednesdays at the Thousand Oaks High School pool and Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Newbury Park High School pool. No registration is required. You swim on your own or enjoy low-impact water exercises with the group. Really just a fantastic exercise, and it's a great social event as well. Also, not to be missed is the ongoing event of Friday Night Bingo. The next one is June 24th. The doors open at 4, and the sales stop at 6 p.m. Bingo starts at 6:30. All proceeds benefit the Goebel Adult Community Center, and is sponsored by the Goebel Senior Center Commission. So come on out and have a good time. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rick, for filling 2 important positions today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Healy. We now will turn to Commissioner reports, and the first report will be from Commissioner Gitt on Senior of the Year.
Thank you, Nick. Good afternoon, everybody. About 30 hours from now at the Goebel Center, we'll announce the Senior of the Year winner. But in reality, we have lots of winners. We have the 6 incredible nominees this year who are all winners. And the people of Thousand Oaks are all winners thanks to the volunteer efforts of our nominees. If I were King Solomon, I think I'd probably split the trophy into 6 parts. But alas, the rules don't allow that. If you haven't brought your tickets yet, there are still a few left at the Goebel Center front desk, so hurry over. Can we see the next slide, Francine, please? The nominees this year are Ed Craven, Margot King, Sue Linderman, Sidel Lopez, Nancy Nelson, and Jim Searden. Also, we have a few of last year's nominees and the winner of last year's Senior of the Award. They'll speak to us later in the program. We go to the next slide, please. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the major sponsors of the activity, the Senior of the Year event. Dinner sponsors who have made significant contributions in cash are Home Helper Home Care and the Council on Aging. The centerpiece sponsor is, the centerpieces are being done by Home Watch of Conejo Valley. The nominees will each receive gifts from the Reserve at Thousand Oaks and Leisure Living. And the beverage and dessert sponsors are being provided by Assisted Living Connections and the Goebel Adult Community Center. Next slide, please. We have a lot of door prizes this year from Arbonne, the Conejo Senior Volunteer Program, the Buena Vista Hospice, Fancy Nails, Godiva Chocolates, Shelter Hope Pet Shop, Julie B. and John of Italy, Leisure Living, Los Robles Hospital, Mountain View Creations, Skin Spa, Thousand Oaks Library Foundation Store, and the YMCA of Thousand Oaks, UCLA Health, and Yoga Works. Next slide, please. So there are still a few tickets left. You can get them at the Goebel Center front desk. The suggested donation is $6. You won't get a better meal or a better evening of entertainment for $6 anywhere in town. So if you haven't bought one yet, we encourage you to come by. Next slide, please. So June 2nd, Thursday, that's tomorrow night at 5:30 p.m. at the Goebel Center. A fabulous chicken dinner will be provided by the Conejo Creek Grill. Tell your friends. If you need information, call Senior Services staff at 805-381-7362 or visit toaks.org/seniors, and we'll see you there tomorrow night. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Gitt. We now have a report on education from Commissioner Gorbach.
Thank you very much. And I would just like to put in another plug for tomorrow night's dinner. And when you come tomorrow night, come up to one of us, say, "Hey, I saw you on television." I mean, it makes us feel really famous, and it is one of the best nights of the year. So go out and get your ticket, and we'll see you tomorrow night at the Senior of the Year Award Banquet, 5:30 at Goebel. And I'd like to just report a little bit about some educational opportunities. And another great deal are all of the classes at the Goebel Adult Senior Center. I mean, there are so many, and as a lifelong educator, I kind of think in terms of a school year. I think in terms of September through June, but summer is a great time to try something new. If you're not traveling, if you're going to be around town, check out some of the classes at Goebel. The one I'm going to sign up for is the line dancing class. I like line dancing because you don't need a partner, and you can get out there and do it by yourself. And I love it because it's not only good exercise for your body, but you have to memorize the order of all the steps. And so I always think of line dancing as a brain exercise also. And then maybe you would like to try beginning oil painting, watercolor basics, scrapbooking. Oh my gosh, learning how to hike. NIA is a kind of dance fitness class. Zumba Gold for those of you who can do that type of thing, or photography, wood carving. There are a ton of great classes. Try one this summer at the Goebel Center. Now, something else that I get in the mail, I just wanted to pass along to you, and again, this is for informational purposes. This is not an endorsement, but I get this huge catalog called Great Courses. I get this a couple times a year, and they sell courses that are on DVD as well as on tape that you can listen to in your tape. How old I am. There's not on tape. They're on CDs, so you can listen to them in your car. So if you're going away this summer and you want to learn something new while you're driving, like this one is on CD, and this is called The Art of Storytelling. And here's another one on CD, Discovering Your Roots, an Introduction to Genealogy. I mean, these are not terribly expensive, $29, $39. Here's one on CD called Understanding the Mysteries of Human Behavior. How does that sound for summer? Yeah, that one on one CD, Human Behavior. So again, this is called Great Courses. You can find their catalog, and they have downloads if you prefer to listen to a download on your smartphone. It's called getgreatcourses.com. So enjoy and get out there and learn something new this summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gorbach. It's now time for commissioner comments. Are there any? Yes, Ron?
Well, I just want to get a plug in for our Council on Aging outreach program. We have speakers that would come out to your group, about 10 minutes, inform you on what's going on with seniors. So I'm reaching out to all of you seniors. Thank you, and good night.
Any other? Yes, Commissioner O'Connor.
I just wanted to thank everyone in the city of Thousand Oaks for the opportunity to serve on the Council of Aging with these wonderful, committed people. Thank you so much.
Any other comments? Other comments? All right. Well, I'd like to turn the program now over to Commissioner Gorbach, who will introduce our main speaker.
Thank you very much, Chair Fotheringham. In preparation for our Senior of the Year Award banquet last year, in June, our keynote speaker was Irene Brennick, who is the Director of Community Services and runs the volunteer program at Los Robles Hospital, where she is responsible for over 700 volunteers. And so I thought, this meeting is coming out again right before the Senior of the Year Award banquet, and maybe we should make June the month when we talk about and honor volunteers, and do this every June. So I checked in with our 2015 Senior of the Year Award winner, Barbara Minkoff, and passed it by her, and she was kind enough to say, yeah, I'll come in and talk to you about volunteering. So I am just delighted today to introduce Barbara Minkoff as our keynote speaker today. Barbara is, like I said, the 2015 Thousand Oaks Senior of the Year. She is an attorney and a former elementary school teacher. Since retiring 12 years ago, she has fulfilled her passion for volunteerism. She works as a tutor for the Conejo Adult Education Literacy Center and serves as a court-appointed special advocate for foster children, as well as being an emeritus attorney for the Ventura County Bar Association. So I'm going to turn the rest of the program over to Barbara, who is going to give us a keynote address and then introduce some of the other nominees for tomorrow night's award. Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, it is about right size for me. When I was first asked by Karen to give a speech on volunteerism, I thought this would be the easiest thing I'd ever done. I've been volunteering most of my life. It is my love and my passion. I discovered it was more difficult than I thought to put all those feelings into words. Then I remembered a poem I had saved written by a young teenager who was dying of cancer. It's called Slow Dance, and it says in part the following: when you run so fast to get somewhere, you miss half the fun of getting there. When you worry and hurry through your day, it's like an unopened gift you throw away. Life is not a race. Take it slower. Hear the music before the song is over. Being a volunteer is an opportunity to slow down and enjoy life. We all have something to offer our community. Each of us has the capacity to care and work to contribute to human dignity and ease human suffering. Our goals do not need to be lofty, such as ending wars or eradicating all hunger. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. As an adolescent, I collected money for various campaigns, such as polio. Yes, it did exist in my time. And later worked as a candy striper at the local hospital. Although neither of my parents were involved in volunteer activities, something drove me even then to want to help others. When I was a young parent, I was a classroom aide, a Club Scout leader, and a team mother. With my children growing older, I returned to school and learned as much about the law as working as a volunteer as I actually learned in law school. As a newly minted attorney, I searched for employment at a nonprofit agency, as this was always my goal. Unfortunately, my lack of skill in speaking Spanish made me more of a liability than an asset. I interviewed with a large private firm, and I asked if they had a pro bono program in place for their attorneys. The managing partner leaned back in his chair, obviously taken back by my question. He replied, "None." He suggested that I pursue such frivolous activities on my own time. I took him up on the proposal, and I volunteered at the Harriet Buha Family Law Center, which at that time was a small a house wedged between a liquor store and a gun shop. I worked with women of limited means who needed help for divorce and paternity cases. They taught me volumes about facing obstacles in life head on. Later, I became a member of the Women Lawyers of Los Angeles and was chairman of their jail project. We would go to the jail and help inmates complete paperwork as to their care of their children, belongings, and other civil matters. The women's gratitude for even the smallest measure of help was a more fulfilling reward than any bonus I ever received as a corporate attorney. Acting as a guardian ad litem for public counsel for foster children who were injured in the dependency system sustained me through the long hours as a private attorney representing insurance carriers who were far less appreciative of my efforts, no matter how successful the outcome. Now I'm retired, and I still volunteer because, like oxygen, giving back supports and nourishes me. There are just a few reasons for all of us to volunteer. 1, when you stay home, you get a lot of telemarketing phone calls. 2, soap operas all seem to be alike. 3, you might need help yourself someday. 4, it's hard to win a game of solitaire. 5, we all need a break from our spouse and our families. 6, if you don't go out each day, you get old. The car needs a workout, number 7. And number 8, your parents, wherever they are, would be very proud of you. Volunteerism is the core of our society. The social and political movements, health, education, housing, and environmental programs, as well as those in the public and private sectors, only thrive because of volunteers. It is the focus of our relationship and has the potential to strengthen the well-being of individuals and our communities. If compassion, empathy, solidarity, and respect for others are deeply ingrained in us, our world will be a better place. In our community, we have many people who each day give of their time, effort, talent, not because they're obligated to do it, because they choose to. They are not motivated by monetary gain, but by the sheer joy of what they do. Volunteers tutor, they teach, they mentor, they coach children and adults. They prepare and deliver meals to the homebound. They man phone lines for domestic violence and sexual assault. They help foster and adopt animals. They act as docents for museums. They work at the police departments, hospitals, libraries, and food banks. They assist in building houses, aid at the free clinic, plant community gardens, knit and sew for children and babies. They collect and they pack boxes for the military. They provide tax assistance. They put on wellness fairs and so much more. These volunteers are not just the well-educated and well-off in our community, but rather all those people who believe they can make a difference and give something back. What a cruel, sad place our world would be if people just cared about themselves and were not willing to become involved in the lives of others. Can you imagine what it would be like if one day all the volunteers just simply disappeared? The countless hours would have to be replaced by paid employees. As our cities, counties, states, and country are already stressed by budgetary concerns, having to pay $22.14, which is the average hourly rate for a volunteer's time, would result in many of the services we take for granted. Recent research on volunteerism stated that 109 million Americans donate over 20 billion hours in a single year. That's equivalent to over $225 billion. Whoops. If you can wrap your head around these figures, it's clear we cannot function without volunteers. They are irreplaceable. The amazing thing about being a volunteer are the benefits you yourself receive. Volunteers are found to be happier and healthier than people that don't volunteer. For older people, it means we can function physically for a greater number of years, and our psychological well-being is vital. Best of all, researchers say we live longer. Last year, when I was nominated for Senior Volunteer of the Year, there was a wonderful young lady who sat next to me. She was 99 years old, and she was still volunteering. Loneliness and depression are very prevalent among the senior community. Volunteerism gives you the opportunity to work alongside people who feel like you do, and this creates a path to new friendships. Good social and relationship skills are extremely important in fostering a youthful attitude. You can learn about other people and break down barriers of mistrust, fear, and misunderstanding. As a member of the more mature generation, working as a volunteer offers you an opportunity to be a model for your family and in turn strengthens your relationship with them. Being a volunteer gives you a special purpose in life. It is the reason you get out of bed in the morning with a smile on your face. Whether you choose to be involved with issues that you feel strongly about or participate in activities involving children, people, grown-ups obviously, and the environment, you will find meaning to your life. Each day that you volunteer, you challenge yourself. As a volunteer, you learn new skills as well as see and do different things. You may even discover you have some hidden talents. All this stimulates your brain and makes you a more fascinating person. More importantly, you will feel more valued while developing a sense of accomplishment and self-worth. Our society benefits as well. Who would maintain our social service organizations, our libraries, our hospitals, and all other needs of our community if we couldn't rely on the tireless work of our volunteers? The big question is how to get volunteers. We are a large, diverse population who do not all read the same newspapers, if at all, have never visited the Goebel Center, sorry, Rick, may not live in a retirement community, nor have any knowledge of the possibilities that our city offers. Flyers, brochures, or an inviting, easy-to-use website that displays varied opportunities available in our community is one idea. They need to demonstrate how stimulating these activities are and how beneficial they can be for the individual. We should try to make sure that these materials are directed to those in our community who do not volunteer and maybe those who would like to try something new. Social media like Facebook, publicity releases, or public announcements on radio stations and newspapers are other great ways to tell the community about the challenging and motivating experiences available to its volunteers. A volunteer recruitment fair showcasing all the amazing organizations in our community might be another way of obtaining new volunteers. Addressing the idea that volunteering can be an enjoyable and rewarding experience while allowing people to share their skills and knowledge could encourage additional participation. It's also important to speak to the logistical issues of transportation and perceived expenses. Potential volunteers need to know that there are no hidden costs involved in such a participation and that they can be placed in locations that are convenient to their own homes. We should work hard to educate the public in general as to the value and profound importance to the community of such service and knowledge that you'll never grow old if you remain interested in the world and are willing to make a difference in it. In closing, I would like to read a poem called The Dash, written by Linda Ellis. I believe this sums up my feeling about volunteering and many others. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted the first came her date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between the years. For that dash represents all the time she spent alive on earth, and now only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters now much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say and how you spent your dash? I'd like to thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you today about my favorite subject, volunteerism. Do I have a...
So I'd like you to now call up the...
I don't have a piece of paper.
Oh, you don't have the thing? Here you go. I'm sorry.
I have to say last year was the most thrilling night, well, almost the most thrilling night of my whole life. It was very exciting to be among people who were so gifted in volunteerism, and I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would be chosen, but I am grateful, and today I enjoy introducing the new volunteers that are nominated for this year's 2016 award. And I'm sorry if I if I say somebody's name who's not here. Ed Craven. Yes, would you please come up?
Thank you, Barbara. Well, you're a tough act to follow. That's terrific. Okay, Karen asked me to address two questions today. The first is, why do I volunteer? Well, I'm going to give you what might seem like a strange answer. It's because I enjoy working with computers. Okay? So let me try to explain that. After I retired from my computer services job with EDS after 27 years, I decided I was going to take some time to think about what I wanted to do next, if anything. So in a year or so time, I never did miss going back to work. But I did eventually realize that I missed the social aspects of the office, and fantasy baseball just wasn't enough to maintain my computer skills. So when I saw the Friends of the Thousand Oaks Library advertisement for looking for someone to maintain the membership database, I said, I can do that. That sounds like a computer job. So I signed up for that, and that was probably 12 years ago, and I'm still on the board. Not doing the same job, but the Friends of the Thousand Oaks Library has many opportunities for volunteers, and I would encourage any of you listening here or at home to consider one of those opportunities and call me. Then I learned about the CSVP tax program, helping people complete their tax returns on a computer, right up my alley. I'd been doing my own taxes and my family's taxes for years and years, so I said, I can do this. So I signed up for that, and that was a good 10, 11 years ago, and I've been doing that ever since. So the answer to why I volunteer is to use my skills productively and to socialize with like-minded professionals as part of a team. The second question that Karen asked me to address was, why is volunteering important? I think Barbara's covered that pretty well. But just a couple items I wanted to relate to that, and that is, I think we all have a civic duty to participate in the community. Sitting on the board of a nonprofit that's providing more than $120,000 of funding this year for library materials and programs is important to all of us and our children who use libraries. Helping people directly is pretty important too, especially the 1,700 people whose tax returns we prepared this year. It's very rewarding to see their appreciation and relief, especially if they get a refund. So I guess the only other thing I might say today, I already put in one brief pitch for volunteers with the Friends of the Library, but the tax prep team is also always looking for people who would like to assist others doing their taxes. We get training provided by the IRS. We get computers provided by the IRS. The only requirement really is that you can put in some time and that you're savvy enough to figure out how the tax prep software works. And even if you don't, it takes a little while to get really up to speed on that, but the more experienced people like myself are there to help and answer questions and get everybody through it. And back to the Friends of the Library, we have committee coordinator positions as well as board officer positions that, as president of the board, it's my responsibility to appoint people to those committee coordinator jobs. There are at least 2 of those that are vacant or could be vacant for the next fiscal year. So if anyone is interested in being a cultural bus tours coordinator, we can use you. Okay? We also can use a publicity coordinator. So again, the contact number, like everything else Rick mentioned, is the 381-2742. Thank you. That's it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Ed. Next, I'd like to introduce Margot King.
Margot couldn't be with us today.
Oh, I'm
so
sorry. I don't know who was cross this out, and it's dark. Nancy Nelson.
Hello. My reason for volunteering is probably a little different, just like yours was. I was raised by a very strict, critical father, and I promised myself I would never be that person. And when my daughters first started playing soccer, I stood on the sidelines and I listened to those coaches screaming at the kids, these young children, and I wondered what they thought they were going to accomplish by screaming at these kids. And I decided that I would learn the game, and I could take a team and I could do better. And so I took the coaches' clinics that are offered by AYSO, and I took a team, and it was super, super fun. I gave those kids a little family environment, a lot of praise, and a lot of good stuff, and I loved it, and the kids seemed to have fun. I got good feedback from the parents, and I felt super good about it. So I kept coaching, and I've now coached 64 AYSO teams. My teams have been successful, and it isn't so much that I'm technically good. I think I have a way, especially with girls, of making them feel good about themselves and wanting to perform. I'm drawn to the kids that need attention and praise, or have something that makes soccer harder for them, or have some family issue. And I try really hard to give them something positive, something they can keep, and something that they can have in their hearts forever. I take my soccer teams every year to volunteer for what's called the VIP tournament, and it's very important players. And these players are not able-bodied. And my kids and families, it's usually about 35 of us. We spend the entire day working that tournament. And my kids get to help someone in a wheelchair, someone with a walker, or someone, a blind player. And they're their helpers. And it's been so fabulous. It really has. I've coached my children and my grandchildren. Like I said, I've coached 64 AYSO teams. Right now, the region that I coach in, Newbury Park, isn't supporting anymore the program that I've been coaching in. So I actually am, for the very first time ever, I'm on my 65th team. I'm coaching a club team. And I volunteer as a coach and trainer, and I have another coach that volunteers. He's actually the trainer. I'm the coach manager. And it's very rare to have a club team that doesn't charge for coaching and training, and I'm really proud of that. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a new adventure. I wanted to say that I lost my brother to cancer in 2014. I had been his advocate. I got him into a clinical trial. It wasn't easy. We saw a news flash on TV about a program for in the state of Pennsylvania for people that have chronic lymphocytic leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And it was genetic modification where they take your white blood cells and they modify them and produce serial killers out of your own immune system. And anyway, my niece and I were able to figure out who the doctor was. And I made an appointment, and my brother and I went for a consultation all the way to Pennsylvania, and I was able to get him into that clinical trial, and I was his caregiver for 11 weeks, and it did obliterate his cancer after 16 years. It wipes out all your good B cells and your bad B cells, which is kind of a problem because a year and a half later he ended up getting an infection, and he suffered for 6 months with this infection, and it did finally take his life, but he was the 7th person in the world to receive this treatment, and he's in medical history books. I don't know if any of you have heard about this on the news. It's unbelievable. They turn your own body to give it the ability to get rid of the cancer. It's the future of cancer. But after no, they spin your blood. It's called apheresis, and they spin out the red blood cells. They take them to the lab, and they add whatever they add to them, the magic juice, and it genetically modifies your own T cells, which are your fighters, and they give them back to you. And my brother's marrow was 90% cancer. When he got into this clinical trial, he was getting 2 and 3 units of blood every other day, and he was really close to death. And within 3 weeks of giving him back his own T cells, within 3 weeks, he was completely cancer-free. Wow. Unbelievable. But anyway, I spent so much time with him, 4 or 5 days a week with him, helping him through his last days of his life. And after he died, I wanted to do something in his honor. So I thought it would be with cancer, thought it would probably be with children, but the right thing hadn't really come along until July 3rd of 2014. I saw an article in the Acorn about a 17-year-old girl that had been walking to a girl high school on a windy morning, and she got something in her eye. She turned around, she turned her back, and was trying to get this, whatever it was, out of her eye. And there was a picture of her, and she was 17 in a wheelchair, and she looked like my 13-year-old granddaughter. And I was led. I felt like someone was pulling me by the arm to contact that family. And I did. And within 5 minutes of sending an email, I got a response. And I could read between the lines that it was a single mom situation, and that the mom had to go back to work. Her family leave was over. And I tried to picture myself leaving my paralyzed child home and going back to work. She had to work. She needed her job. They needed the insurance. So I met the family in a few days, and I went there, and I became her caregiver. I took her to all of her doctor's appointments, physical therapy appointments, and I tried every time I spent time with her to do something also that was fun. We ran errands. Sometimes we did a craft. We got our nails done. I took her to get her hair done. One thing I'm super proud of with her is that I helped her select a car that could be modified with hand controls. Because she ended up paralyzed from the waist down. A tree fell on her back. I guess a tree fell on her back. It broke her back in 2 places, broke 2 ribs, which punctured a lung, and it shattered both ankles. So she was hospitalized for 2 months, and it was right when she got out of the hospital that her mom had to go back to work. So anyway, she's paralyzed from the waist down. She still is. She'll be there tomorrow night. And we have become really close. She confides things in me. She shares her heart with me. I share my heart with her. And I know of all the things I've ever done in my life that I've made the biggest difference for her. Her mom told me that the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me, she said, I prayed and I prayed and I didn't know what I was going to do. And she said, I never would have known to pray for you. And that really, that warms my heart. It makes me feel... It just makes me feel so good inside. And what I want to say is that I know I've made a huge difference in her life. I've made a huge difference for my brother. I make a huge difference for all these kids I've coached. I'm now coaching kids who I've coached their parents. Do you believe that? Because it's a lot of years. But I want to say that I love Sarah and Sarah loves me. And what more could you ask for? It's so rewarding. Thank you very much for your time.
I should say that in the microphone. Thank you, Nancy. And last, I'd like to introduce Sue Lindeman.
Thank you. What an act to follow. Isn't she incredible? Just beautiful. I think volunteering is very important. I volunteered off and on all my life, even as a little kid. And my husband, when he was in his very early 30s, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. At that time, there was absolutely no information out there about the disease. Doctors literally patted us on the head and said, good luck. Our neurologist said, there's no place to send you, no information, no support groups, no books, nothing. But this fine doctor told me that if I was in a pinch at 4 a.m, not to hesitate to pick up the phone and call him. This was a real doctor. He was great. But he was also absolutely 100% correct. There was nothing out there. My husband went through a very difficult journey, made probably a little bit more difficult because there wasn't any information out there. But I am one of the founding board members for Ventura County Alzheimer's Association years ago. And our first office was up in Oxnard. Now we're all over the county. It's my passion. I work with families dealing with the disease. I work with some people who have the disease. And have to tell you, I feel that it's somewhat selfish of me because the joy I get, the pleasure I get from even making somebody smile, from knowing that I've made a difference in a person who's living with the disease. And what it does for me, it takes some of the sting. It will never take 100% of it, but it takes some of the sting out of what my husband went through for so many years. And I mean, he was diagnosed in the late 70s, and he passed away in 2005. That was a long journey, and he did things that doctors have never heard of people with the diagnosis doing. I learned a lot. For me not to turn around and try. I don't guarantee I always do it, but try to help other people would make what he experienced, what I experienced, and the loss of him for our kids and for me and for friends. It would just be for naught. And he was one whose philosophy was always to reach out and help people. He was a good teacher to us. So I was on the State Council for Public Policy and Advocacy. I work with families all over the country and in 3 foreign countries. And let me just put it out there while I'm thinking about it. If you know anybody who is dealing with the disease, have them contact me. You can get my number through the Global Senior Center, because that's where I facilitate support groups twice a month. And I will be glad to do whatever I can to help people. I'm also good at confusing people sometimes. But that's the thing, when my phone line is open 24/7 for my families. And I've had, the latest call I ever got was 3:30 in the morning. And when we were hanging up, and generally no matter what time, but 3:30 in the morning, this poor lady was absolutely beside herself. We were hanging up and we were both laughing, and she said, "I knew you'd get me to laugh." And that's the object, because if we can laugh at things, it takes some of the sting out. And what she told me later is it took the sting out, not just at that moment, but for a long time when she would think about our conversation and the laugh that she had. The laugh came back again, or a smile on her face, and that's what's important. I also think it's very important to volunteer, to give other people an opportunity to think, gee, I can do that. Why don't I reach out and help people? And that's what the world is about. We're all human beings, and I believe we need to be there for each other. And I will tell you with great pride, I have a grandson who started volunteering at the teen center when he was 10. He is now in his first year of high school. He is still volunteering, and he won't miss it. He loves it, and I'm very proud of him. So thank you. So volunteering can be contagious, and sometimes it's good to catch something from other people. Anyway, thank you all for your time. Thank you.
I'd like to thank Ed and Nancy and Sue for sharing their stories with us today. I'm sure the other people will be able to share their stories tomorrow night. I wish you all a wonderful evening. I know it will be special. And thank you for the opportunity to talk about my subject today.
We'd like to invite you back to the podium now, Barbara, and let's see if the commission, any of the commissioners have any questions for Barbara. And we can't take questions from the audience just yet, but from the commission.
Yes.
Hi, Barbara. I'm a total believer in volunteering and do myself, but you said what I believe, but you said it in such a wonderful manner that I just wished I could say it like that. And I hope that just if that message got through to one person who's kind of thinking, well, maybe I should do this, it just listening to those 3 stories, I mean, I almost cried on a couple of them. So it will make the difference in your life, particularly if you're a senior, to get out and give back and to realize how many people you really can make a difference in their lives.
Absolutely.
Little bits at a time. So
that was what was really so special, I think, about the dinner.
Yeah.
Was really listening, because we didn't speak about it. Other people spoke about us, and I was just awestruck at how many people were volunteering in so many different activities that I never even knew about. So
thank you very much.
We're a special city.
Yeah,
we really
it is
are.
a wonderful city to get volunteers in. So thank you very much for saying it so well, and thank you to you guys for doing what you do. That's pretty incredible. I just was extraordinarily moved by those stories.
I agree with you. They are.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? Yes.
I really enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you.
It was one thing that I found was a bit of a rough edge, and as I remember what you said, there was an estimate of 20 billion hours a year of volunteer time that's put in at a value of $225 billion. My impression is that most volunteers aren't in it to count hours or to figure out the value of their time.
I actually got that from some research I had done through the United Nations, and they had a commission, and that's where some of the figures came from. I didn't make it up.
Okay.
I wanted to have some, knowledge about, because when I talked to Karen, she wanted to be able to talk about, what volunteers do outside, and I think how much time we spend, I don't know. I had no idea that I was worth $22.14. I actually think volunteers are worth more, but it kind of struck me that I had never thought about how much time our hours are worth. And so I thought that was important to include today. So that's where the information came from.
Yeah, I wasn't attributing the numbers to you personally, but as I did the arithmetic, that comes out to about $11 an hour, which strikes me as a gross underestimate.
It probably is.
I think we're far too humble if we accept that as a value of our time.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have any questions?
Either?
Okay, let's put our hands together and thank Barbara once again for a really wonderful presentation.
Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our meeting. So actually until September or October, we're adjourned. So thank you all for being here.